Today's video is sponsored by We Glimpse. Over the last year, I've spent quite a bit of time thinking about how we impact our environment and what we can do to improve it. And I've been learning about some of the projects at a local level, both urban and rural, that are working to have a really positive effect on our environment and on climate change. So I want to share with you a couple of projects that I found really exciting. They are using energy, so energy production, to be able to support the local community, to feed back in for arts projects, for education, and also for gardening projects. Sometimes I can feel a bit overwhelmed by just how much is going on in terms of climate change, but it's not all negative. In fact, there are some really amazing positive projects going on all over the place. Community energy projects harness the power of either solar or wind, and they sell surplus back to the grid, and then with the money left over they can support projects across their community. This is Rectory Gardens at Rectory Road train station, and it was created about 3 years ago, and it is absolutely chock-a-block full of diversity, wildlife and plants. And there's about 126 different varieties, species of plants here, and most of them have been reclaimed from local residents' gardens and also been donated. It's such an amazing project to see, and it's so good to see it so close to the railway, which means that all the passengers can come, and when they're waiting for their train they can enjoy this space from both sides of the train station. And it puts just another little touch of green into London, which carries on developing the wildlife corridor that zigzags and networks right across the city. To support the maximum amount of diversity, some of these gardens by railways have got meadow flowers in them. So they've got small areas that are planted up as meadows, and then other areas that have got plants specifically for other pollinators. I think it's really exciting to see how they've built in so much diversity and how they're thinking not just, what would be nice this year, but in the long term, what's going to be the maximum benefit for the environment. So here in Brondesbury Park, they look after the wildlife in a whole number of ways, not only having a hugely diverse planting scheme, but things like bird boxes, and they also have beehives. And in this community garden, there are even solar panels, which then go to a terminal, and they've got a charging point for your phone. So you can sit in the shade of this gazebo and just take a little bit of time to yourself while your phone's charging. The great thing about all gardens, whether they're in a rural setting or somewhere very urban, is they provide us with somewhere to stop and pause and somewhere to find some peace. But these gardens don't just miraculously appear on their own, and with the help and support of funds from community energy projects, things like these gardens can exist and be supported and have staff to help them and support for volunteers who want to come and spend time in them. Energy Gardens in London uses solar power, and I visited Awel, Aman, Tawe, and I'm sure I've pronounced that incorrectly. Not only do they use solar, but they also harness the energy of wind power. It's not every day that you get to stand on top of a hillside and look at wind turbines. They are huge.
With the turbines, the electricity is sold to the grid, and with the money from the sale of the electricity, that obviously goes to pay back investors and the bank that has loaned some of the finance, and then our members, they get interest payments, and then with the surplus, all of the surplus goes into community projects. So at the moment we're working on a really exciting community project, which is a low carbon community hub in Cwmgors, which is in one of the local villages. It was a former primary school, and we bought it with the money from the turbines, and we've spent the last 3 years renovating it and retrofitting it into a community arts, enterprise and education centre. So over the years we've done community arts projects related to climate change, poetry, theatre, visual arts, printmaking, animation, all sorts of projects like that, all related to climate change. We run an education programme called We Are Energy Warriors, and we work in 40 different schools. Our education officer goes into schools. So some of the schools come up here to visit the turbines and have a look around and have a lesson while they're up here.
Projects like these have a very real and very tangible outcome. They build in longevity, they build community, and they really support local residents' mental health.
We've got studio spaces and all sorts of other things going on in there, education, hot desking and office space and stuff. But we've also, the former playground of the school, it's quite a large area, it's currently tarmac. But we have had equipment from Keep Wales Tidy to create a small food growing garden, which we've been doing since February. So we've got a garden group who helped build the garden and have been growing an incredible amount of food in 3 raised beds. And absolutely brilliant. They've completely committed themselves to doing it and grew huge amounts of food that some of which we gave to the local food bank, some of which we made food and had a little celebration, and then obviously shared out the rest of the food amongst the members. The plan is to landscape the yard, and we've got a master plan at the moment for that, which will have a dyer's garden, so for dyeing plants and for paper making plants and for obviously the food growing, a sensory garden, and a sort of wildlife areas. We're going to have a small kind of peace and renewal kind of grove within the garden as well. So there'll be lots going on.
Here in the very heart of London, a fabulous community garden has been created using these raised beds as planters. I mean, these are so accessible. I really like these. They're all different shapes and sizes. The triangular ones here have got seating, so actually you can sit around and talk to people. They've even got a polytunnel for growing more tender plants and also for raising seedlings in. It's got a really inclusive feel. It's got a really welcoming feel. And though I sound surprised, I'm kind of surprised because there's building work going on all around us, and yet we've come into what is really quite a secluded and feels really rather private space. And it's really nice that the community has created such a vibrant and loving space for themselves. I really like that something can be done at a local level that feels constructive and positive, isn't going to cost a fortune, but has a really positive impact. So search online, community energy and your local area, and hopefully you'll find a project that you feel you'd like to be involved with.